Hi again. Welcome to Pearl Magazine. Amid the coronavirus outbreak, traveling overseas or outside of Hong Kong is a big no-no, as hotels, airlines, and travel agents are all taking a big hit. For those who want a quick getaway, a short trip to the countryside could be a nice option. Later in the show, we follow some local seniors on a special excursion. But first, some company news, or lack thereof. Companies listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange are supposed to publish annual financial results in the next few weeks, but professionals are finding it hard to approve their clients' financial figures because visiting facilities in mainland China is virtually impossible amid the coronavirus outbreak. Zella Chin has advice for investors in these uncertain times.
March is a busy time for listed companies. Usually, there's at least one company announcing financial results every day of the month. At the beginning of the year, auditors spend all their time reviewing the financial results. About 2,300 companies have shares listed on the Stock Exchange of Hong Kong. More than 1,200 of those companies have operations in the mainland.
Visiting the company of which we are auditing definitely will be part of the audit procedures. Audit steps such as inspection of the plant and machinery, inspection of the stock, and visiting the factories, visiting where the production is being taken place.
This accounting firm has about 200 clients with shares listed in Hong Kong, and more than half of them end their financial year at the end of December. In the past, the office would be empty. Most auditors were hard at work in mainland China, checking on their clients' operations. But because of the coronavirus, it may be too dangerous for the staff to visit the mainland. And the Hong Kong government has imposed a mandatory 14-day quarantine for people who've been to the mainland.
So if we send our staff up to China, after they come back, they have to go through this mandatory quarantine period of 14 days, which will disrupt our ability in assigning them to other, jobs as well. So from the commercial point of view, it really stopped us from sending people up to China.
According to the listing rules, companies listed on the main board must end their financial year with the calendar year, closing books at the end of December. Companies release preliminary announcement of results with an auditor's agreement by the end of March, and audited financial results are released at the end of April. Typically, there's little difference between preliminary and final results. Firms listed on the growth enterprise market have to release audited financial results by the end of March. Failure to do so without an acceptable reason may result in suspension of trading of the company's shares. The professional body of certified public accountants met with the stock exchange to discuss giving listed companies more time to submit their financial results to the exchange.
Obviously, the perfect thing is to have an extension of the 31st of March deadline.
A representative for listed companies says he understands that timely reporting is crucial for investors to make the right decision, but the coronavirus has made postponing results announcements necessary.
Shareholders have the right to get to know these companies, their operations, and their financial standings. But this pandemic has made things really difficult. So what we're hoping is that when these companies apply to defer announcing their results, the stock exchange could be flexible when it comes to approving these requests.
In early February, the Securities and Futures Commission and the Stock Exchange issued a joint statement. It says authorities understand travel restrictions may have disrupted the auditing work of some listed companies. They should contact the Stock Exchange to discuss their situation and the financial information that they are able to report. The Institute of Certified Public Accountants says it welcomes the statement, but the authorities did not propose a delay in reporting results, and it also didn't specify what companies should do.
Some guidelines and some example would be really helpful for the issuer to see whether they can offer the sufficient information to the investor public. That's one problem. And then the other side of the problem is, in the announcement, they didn't really mention about what's happened if the so-called sufficient information is not available. Does that mean that, right, they will have to suspend the trading right away, or they will still exercise discretion and see consider the case-by-case basis, and the reason why they cannot come up with the sufficient information, they may still consider deferring the deadline. So that is not very clear.
The joint statement also recommends that if companies have some numbers, even if they're unaudited, the company management should release them first. No suspension of trading will be imposed on these companies' shares. Typically, management teams rely heavily on the work of auditors. Some professionals say if companies report unaudited figures, then the management or their audit committee members would bear sole responsibility of the results, which may not be possible.
Most of the audit committees are made up of members of independent non-executive directors. By definition, those people not really having a hands-on sort of involvement on the daily operation of the listed companies. If the independent non-executive directors are asked to bear the primary responsibility on the integrity, on the accuracy of the unaudited financial statements or information being published by the listed companies, I don't think that is fair on them. They don't have the benefit of knowing 100% the financial information, whether they reflect the actual performance of the company over the year.
The China Securities Regulatory Commission has decided to allow A-share companies in Shanghai and Shenzhen to delay releasing audited financial results until the end of April. Many of these companies also have H-shares listed in Hong Kong. There are worries unaudited results released in March in Hong Kong may look very different from those released on the mainland China bourses.
Obviously, I would assume that more audit work would have been done during April, and if the eventual figures, there are major difference, then who is going to bear the liability? And probably in the end, there may be litigation because of this wrong information is released to the market.
Analysts warn investors to be careful and to not trade too frequently during this financial reporting season, because the preliminary financial results of mainland companies may not be accurate.
Those large caps, I do not think the problem will be serious. But if those other mid-cap or small caps, especially for the Chinese companies, the risk may be high because no one can ensure that the figures announced would be 100% accurate.
Jason Chan is the head of research for a security firm in Causeway Bay. He is cautiously optimistic about the financial markets because he expects the coronavirus will be a short-term issue.
We also noticed that the central government may have to launch some proactive fiscal policy to stimulate the economy and also to loosen the monetary policy to inject some excess liquidity to the financial system. And that may be a catalyst to the market sentiment.
For investors comfortable with taking a lot of risks, Jason recommends investing in the property, construction materials, and infrastructure sectors.
If the government really inject more liquidity and lower the interest rates in the near future, I think the property market can get sharp rebound in the second half of the year. So that especially they are trading in a very low valuation in these days. And also the infrastructure sector will be also benefits. And so that the relevant cement sectors, the steel sectors, and also the machinery sectors would also be pushed up because they could have a larger demand for the orders.
For risk-adverse investors, Jason suggests selecting stocks which are not highly correlated to the market, such as healthcare and telecoms.
The central government is accelerating the pace to the 5G development. So that I think the real demand of the telecom equipment may rise a lot in the future 2 to 3 years. So that I think such stocks can be a good choice. And also the healthcare, because many people are speculating that some new medicine or some vaccines will be invented in the near future to deal with the virus.
Other stocks which might benefit from the coronavirus situation include the internet sector.
Nowadays, many staff are doing home office, and also many students could not go to school. So the internet communication, for example, the online software and also the online education system are in a very high demand. So I think it could benefit for those internet companies.
After the break, with the viral outbreak, perhaps a stroll in the countryside is just the break we need. Stay with us. Welcome back. The coronavirus outbreak across China and around the world has many tourists staying put. But if you are looking for a short trip, a quick getaway, a visit to our countryside may not be a bad option. We caught up with some local seniors for tips on discovering our own greenery.
As tourism has expanded, people travel whenever they have a holiday. However, some old folks in Hong Kong haven't even traveled locally.
I haven't been there before, although I heard about it frequently and watched it on TV. I heard some birds, like the black-faced spoonbill, live there.
Recently, these old folks formed a tour group, scheduling a day trip to Mai Po.
Last time I went to Mai Po was almost 20 years ago. I went there for work. For me, it is revisiting an old haunt. I can enjoy the scenery there and spend time with my friends, so I was excited about it.
I want to go there. I will take some photos if possible and share them on social media if I do a good job.
So how does this elderly tour group distinguish itself from the ordinary one? Ao Suk Ging, who is 79 years old, relies on her walking stick after a tumble about 10 years ago. She's stuck at home now owing to her mobility difficulties and makes limited use of public transport.
Most of the time, I'm on Hong Kong Island. I rarely go to Kowloon. Wong Tai Sin is the farthest I've been. But I always remind myself not to stay at home all the time, because if I do, I have nothing to do but watch TV, which is bad for my eyes.
To encourage the elderly to look for new things to do, this organization invites some newly retired seniors to design a local day trip for their peers.
I hope retired seniors can utilize their expertise to provide services for the elderly, not just receive it passively. And in that way, their self-confidence will be enhanced and the belief they're contributing to society.
Local tourism was not a common concept a few years ago. While working, people didn't have a chance to explore until they retired.
In fact, quite a lot of old folks truly don't know these places. Some of them may have heard about them before, but they won't visit them by themselves. Just like Mai Po, they might have heard people talking about it, but they don't know how to get there or what they can do there.
After a round of discussion at the briefing, the group decides to accept Shek Mei Si's suggestion. They'll take the elderly tour to Mai Po for bird watching.
It is hard for the young people to spare time to take the seniors out, so they might seldom go to this district. I hope the landscape could help them achieve joy and comfort in their lives.
The younger generation go traveling without much preparation, while the elderly prepare a lot, even if it's just for a local day trip.
I'm preparing drinking water in case some members forget to bring some. Elderly people can't drink too much cold water or too much hot water, so I take both. Some old folks have diabetes, so they cannot eat sweet cookies, but salty ones. And others may forget to eat breakfast, then they can eat sweet cookies for better digestion.
The elderly tour is guided by newly retired seniors. They're very organized.
I'm an elderly myself, so I know their needs and know what should be taken. For example, this medicinal oil will help them if they feel sick. It is essential to be fully prepared to take these old folks out.
Ao will attend the day trip. She's thrilled about it. She finished packing a few days earlier.
I took water, sun hat, and cookies. I can't eat too much in case I'm too full to walk. It's wonderful to have someone guide me there.
Hello, 淑經早晨，你好啊！日日都去街啊，係啊。
It's the day of the trip. Mei Si and Shuk-ging meet downstairs and set out to join the group.
I'm so happy because I have a friend coming along.
We are friends and we can take care of each other.
I walk with a cane, so I have to be careful.
I'm really looking forward to it, but also a bit nervous because I haven't been there for a long time.
I haven't been there before.
I've never expected it only takes $2 Hong Kong for such a long distance. I'm glad to have a try.
In general, old folks usually take the tour bus to the destination directly. But this time they've decided to take public transport to train them to go out by themselves. Today they'll take the Cross Harbour bus first and transfer to the East Rail Line later.
We are going to take the bus and then the railway, so I'm a bit nervous. I need to be careful.
In 2012, the SAR government implemented the Public Transport Fare Concession Scheme by reducing the cost of transportation to inspire seniors to go out more. Currently, every single trip on most public transport costs only $2 for seniors. This saves them about $20 from Chai Wan to Sheng Shui.
I can hang around if I take a bus. I can get on at one terminal and get off at the other. The East Rail Line, I use it once or twice a year at most.
Unfamiliar with the railway lines and stops, elderly people rarely take the MTR when they go out.
The bus is from stop to stop directly, which is more convenient for us. But traffic gets jammed sometimes.
That's what I worry about the most. I always say it is taking the train, but now it should be taking the East Rail Line. I was confused at first.
Young people usually pass the time on the train doing stuff with their smartphones. But the old folks?
I'm not addicted to my phone. Most of the time, I look outside at the buildings. They have different construction and design.
After an hour's journey, they finally meet the group and set out for Mai Po. Most of the group of old folks have never been to Mai Po. They all feel excited about their upcoming adventure.
如果要講説話咧，細細聲，唔好話大聲咧。如果唔係咧，啲雀仔會嚇走佢啦。所以咧就要大家行呢條路好小心。離開啲，你唔好黐住佢，唔好黐住個鏡，離開少少，上下左右手。
好大隻啊！睇到啊！
We can see the birds in various spots through the telescope.
If we observe them with our eyes, they're so small, just like some twigs under the tree. But with the telescope, it is so clear that we can tell they're herons or egrets.
With retirement, leisure time is unlimited. The elderly have the chance to explore unfamiliar areas, even on weekdays, away from the urban sprawl and close to nature.
They are herons while we are old folks.
But we're just like the great egret. They fly high and we're still able to walk.
We want to fly, but we can't. I'm too heavy to fly. Hong Kong is a concrete jungle, which is not fun. Here is more fun.
As people age, a stressful journey is not suitable, but they appreciate this short trip to the countryside. It was a long one, but they think worthwhile.
I am not tired. On the contrary, I feel so happy. I'm 78 years old this year. I'm glad to have the chance to walk about. I haven't been here before and had no idea of Maipo either, but I know it now. I didn't come here for shopping, but to birdwatch and to learn new things.
The city grows at a fast pace. Helping the elderly go out to explore different places is a good way to expand their knowledge and help them stay in touch with society.
I'm so pleased. I haven't tried to use 2 Hong Kong dollars to travel so far.
It's so worthwhile.
With the new experience, will they come out on their own more often?
Yes, I will.
If the center organizes more tours, I will attend. But if I'm alone,
I will accompany you.
You will? That's great. We will be friends if we meet more.
That's our show for this week. Next time, with an urgent need for an economic revival, could we expect yet another round of sweeteners from the financial secretary in this year's budget speech? Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.